Alright, let's get into game. I like to have the game playing in the background when I'm discussing it for, like, you know, an impressions video. First impressions of Path of Exile 2. I mean, guys, I'll be honest. I was waiting for this game for a very long time. We've covered this game while it's on the loading screen. I'll make it full screen. We've been covering this game for, since the first trailer came out, really. I would say, like, the first real trailer over the past year. I've covered, you know, a lot of the character, you know, videos that are describing what the different characters will do, and, you know, I was talking about some of the mechanics. I did the druid, the mercenary, the ranger, the witch, and I think those are the 4 videos of that type I did. And then we did, like, the long, like, 2.5 hour, 3 hour video. I'll link those all below, by the way, in the description. And so we've been really hyped. Now, as of my history, I have a very weird history with Path of Exile. I played a lot of ARPGs, both on this channel and in general. Absolutely love ARPGs, an absolute boatload. So my complicated history of Path of Exile, love ARPGs, played a lot of them. We played everything from Diablo 4, Last Epoch. I started on Diablo 1 and 2. I did Torchlight 1 and 2. I didn't play, you know, Torchlight Infinite, that gotcha mobile game dog shit. You know, I played an absolute boatload of Path of Exile 1 in beta. I played, I think, like, when it was in beta, I think I played, like, what is it, like, 500, 600 hours. I played an absolute bonkers amount, especially because Diablo 3 was dog water when it came out. And Path of Exile 1 had come out at the same time. So I have a deep love for Path of Exile, but however, Path of Exile 1 had a lot of deep-seated issues, melee combat, overcomplicated systems, lots and lots and lots of issues that, you know, stayed with it. Some of it which got better throughout the updates, and it had many updates, and the bones of the game were very, very good, and it did some things extremely unique compared to other RPGs at the time. So I give it lots. It deserves a lot of the success that it gets, all the success, and very, very happy with the growth it had over the past decade with Grinding Gear Games, the game company that makes Path of Exile 1 and 2. But then I hadn't played it for a very long time until I think, like, I started to play it a lot more when Settlers of Calico came out, the big update about almost a year ago. No, it's like 6, 7, 8 months ago. So played it an absolute boatload then, and it was so much better. You know, all throughout the years. It was really nice to see, and got me even more excited for the Path of Exile 2. So now here we are, Path of Exile 2. How is it? Let me give you my full and complete breakdown. Does it suck? Path of Exile 2 Edition. This is something I like to do on the channel. You know, everyone has their little gimmick of how they cover various games and stuff. And mine is just giving you the authentic take of whether the game sucks or not. Does it suck or does it not suck? We've only done a few of these. It's a pretty new thing to the channel. So if you like it, please take the opportunity to give this video a like, a sub. For the channel, you know, any kind of comment that you might want to say, whether you agree or disagree with me, and either way, I'm going to try to give it to you. Always straight, always authentic, never, you know, given any sponsorships or anything like that. You will always get this straight shot with me, and I wanted to give my history with ARPGs. I played ARPGs are probably my, like, 3rd most played genre ever. So it's, like, way up there for me. I love ARPGs. Anyways, Path of Exile 2. I played it a considerable amount. Right now we're on the warrior. I'm very much a melee guy. I love warriors. I love barbarian archetype. You know, marauder was my favorite, even though it was dog shit in Path of Exile 1. And so on and so forth. Last Epoch, by the way, as well, Forge Guard. Shout out to the Forge Guard. Shout out to, you know, the wonderful world of Last Epoch. Still one of my favorite ARPGs on the market right now. But Path of Exile 2, I think, is just straight up very good. It's extremely, extremely good in a lot of different ways. I consider Path of Exile 2 the Dark Souls of the ARPG genre. And I think people are playing it in droves for that reason. It's at a watershed moment right now of a time when, you know, we've had Baldur's Gate 3, which was like the watershed moment for turn-based RPGs, at least in the common, most recent, like, you know, present day. We've had the watershed moment of action Souls-like combat with Elden Ring. And now we're having the same with ARPGs. I genuinely think this is the time for Path of Exile 2 and for ARPGs in general because of this game. I think this is not hyperbole in any way. This is a game that has reached, you know, millions of people in just the first week. We're at, like, how long has Path of Exile 2 been out, guys? I think it's like, what, 5 days? I think we're on like day 5 or day 6. We're really early on. And the game's already broken records. It's already like, what, the 10th most played Steam game of all time, which is insane to think about. People have been, you know, grinding this game, grinding the gears of this game, pun intended. I think the game is really, really fun. I think that the game is not perfect, nor do I expect it to be.
Yes.
I want to remind people, because I've seen a lot of, like, people on Twitter complaining about this game a lot. And I'll give you my pros and cons. I'll give you the full list and everything. But I think one thing that people need to realize, just in general, before I really go into this, in terms of my personal thoughts, is that when Grinding Gear Games released Path of Exile 1, it was also broken. It was also getting massive changes. It was also bricking builds. It was also, you know, very unpolished, and people still loved it because it did so many new things. This game is also doing the same thing. I want people to remember the past and to judge this game fairly. That is all I'm asking. So if you hit me up in the comments with hate about the game and you're not taking into the context, I'm just gonna think you're an idiot. I'm just gonna toss it out there. If you're saying like, oh, the game is not finished. Yeah, it's an early access, no fucking shit. Okay? It's not supposed to be finished. Only half the classes are released. Yeah, it's not finished. Duh. Okay? Yeah, there's broken skills in the game. Oh my god, it's an ARPG. Broken skills will always be in the game, but it's early access, which means even more broken. It's every game, every time. People just love to complain. I completely agree, Skolder. But I've been seeing a lot of complaints like this on Twitter. And I don't mind constructive criticism at all. If you're saying, hey, this is broken and it needs to be fixed for this reason, this is how you do it, totally fine with that. In fact, I will level many such criticisms throughout this current video, as you will see in the next few moments. However, let's keep it in context. Let's keep it constructive. And that is why I'm giving you my thoughts of this game as an early access game. Does this game suck? First of all, as an early access game, I think this is one of the most complete early access launches I've seen, like, ever. Let's be real. Like, I think the last time I saw an early access release being so complete and so well made was like Hades 1. And maybe Hades 2 as well. I haven't played Hades 2, but I've hand issues, so controller games are hard, and Hades is very much a controller game, so I can only play those sparingly. Regardless, Hades 1 was a very, very good and complete, you know, at least bones-wise, early access launch. And fell in love with the game, spent, you know, hundreds of hours on it and everything like that in early access before it even launched. But yeah, I think Path of Exile 2 is in a very, very polished state, considering that it is early access. Not perfect, has stutters, has issues, has optimization issues, has this, has that. Sure, we'll talk about those in detail, but for an early access launch, I am extremely satisfied with the game. I've spent maybe 30-odd hours playing this game so far. And first of all, my main is the warrior, and I'm taking it very slow. I've tried a few different classes, so I have a little bit of experience with each class so far, at least. Not every single class. I have not played the Witch. I'm not really probably going to play the Witch or Sorceress until later, but I've not played those two, but I've played the other ones, at least a little bit here and there. And, you know, tried a few builds, deleted characters, started new ones, did some hardcore. By the way, if you're playing hardcore in Path of Exile 2, you have no right to complain if your character dies to one shot. ARPGs are already really bad for, you know, handling hardcore. They're like you'll get one shot all the time to unfair things all the time. And B, it is unironically lighting your time on fire to do early access hardcore. It's like the stupidest thing of all time. I only did it because I wanted to see, does it even work? It does, and I died to something really dumb, and I was like, yeah, I just wasted my time. That's fine. That's fine. It is what it is. But, yeah, if you... people... There's so many people on Twitter that are complaining because they made a hardcore character, guys. This is the breadth of the PoE community, okay? I'll tell you some of the stupidest things I've seen so far for Path of Exile 2. People who make a hardcore character and then die because it's hardcore in early access for an ARPG, and then they complain about doing so. Oh my god, people are so dumb. Okay, that is... Oh god, okay. The other thing that people are being really, really dumb about right now in Path of Exile 2 is not understanding the game mechanics in any way, shape, or form, and then complaining about it. For example... talking about, so let me show you. Oops, wrong page. There we go. Let me show you. So if I bring up the passives, whoops, P for passives. If you go to, this is one of the pictures I saw online. This exact jewel slot. Someone was complaining about a lack of jewels. Like, oh my god, we don't even have jewels and they're in the game. And so this slot is useless for me. Jewels are in the game if you actually look for them and if you actually follow what the game says for how to get the jewels. They're in certain areas of the content. I'm not going to spoil it if you want to figure it out yourself. When people make complaints like that, it's extremely dumb. I'll probably make a video about this later on, about like the actual quote and like, you know, the actual poster and everything like that, because it's, you know, one of the larger content creators in the space, and they're really, really fucking dumb for doing so. I think things like that is like absolutely ridiculous and really shows that you have to, as a consumer nowadays, as a gamer, try to figure out the biases and the context of the people you're watching. Do they have a brain? If yes, then listen to what they say, and if not, frankly, don't listen to what they say. I'll just call it how it is. That's just an example. Regardless, moving on from that, the third thing that I've seen a lot in the Path of Exile community, which is really dumb, especially when... Yeah, jewels, exactly. In this game, is that people are going into this game expecting Path of Exile 1. This game is not Path of Exile 1. Path of Exile 1 was an overcomplicated mess, which was lovely in many, many ways. But it was extremely bloated, extremely complicated, with way too many mechanics. And also, most of the time, your entire skill set was spent, you know, maxing out the usage of one ability and being able to dash around the map at light speed, wiping everything with one ability. And, you know, other things would buff it, totems and this and that, whatever, would buff that one ability or two abilities. One is a movement ability, one is a clearing ability, or whatever. And that was like the entire game for so many meta builds. This game is as far removed from that as possible. Not only that, but Grinding Gear Games said that's the fucking point of Path of Exile 2. They didn't want it to be a clone of Path of Exile 1. They didn't want it to be, you know, you going into an endgame map, running at light speed, clearing everything on the map and getting out of it, and with a broken-ass build. They wanted to add it So you had synergies with all of your abilities. They wanted to slow down fights so you couldn't stack, 3 different healing flasks and being able to out-heal fights. They didn't want you to be able to, be forced to use a movement ability to dodge things, so you needed a movement ability on your bar. Now you have an actual dodge ability with spacebar, so on and so forth. Many, many different things. They wanted to slow down fights, make it so abilities are much more easily telegraphed, so you can actually see them and know what to dodge and then be forced to dodge it, because if you don't, then you'll die. You'll be one-shot. Things like that were points of the game, and if you watch any of the dev blogs, if you're even remotely interested in Path of Exile, you'll find that out really, really fast. It's not like Grinding Gear Games was hiding this. So seeing the Path of Exile Reddit community especially, bend over backwards to talk about how this game is just so far removed from Path of Exile 1 and they don't like it for that reason, boggles my mind. They're like, oh, the game is too difficult. Game is not too difficult. Jesus Christ, this game is not even nearly as difficult as Elden Ring was, and Elden Ring's difficulty is a fucking joke. You can outgrind Elden Ring. You can also outgrind this if you really want to. You can get to level 20 when you're facing, what was it called? Draven. And people were complaining about Draven and like all chat and everything like that. It's really not that hard. Does it cost some time? Sure. You don't have an immediately broken build? Oh my god, how dare Grinding Gear Games. Anyways, those are just some of the things that I'm hearing in the community right now, which drives me bananas. And I think that Path of Exile's Reddit, and their extremely, extremely loud minority of players that are on Reddit and, live on YouTube and, spam in all chat constantly. Those are some of the worst sections of the entire player base. And frankly, I'm really glad, and I hope that Grinding Gear Games doesn't listen to them, ever. They don't deserve to be listened to. If you're watching this and you're one of those people, you're part of the problem. I'm sorry. You really are. You need to take a game for what it is and what it's trying to be and judge it on those merits or demerits and give it the proper context. And if you disagree with me, please let me know why. I am wrong in the comments below. I'll happily read it. I'll happily discuss it. But these are some general thoughts I'm getting out of the way. Anyways, now that all those general thoughts are out of the way, guys, some real specifics. What do I like about the game? Dude, first of all, these graphics. Look at it. It's absolutely gorgeous. Absolutely gorgeous. The music, the ambiance is perfect. The game itself, in fights and so on and so forth, gives you that vibe of, what's it called? Like Diablo 2. You can really see the Diablo 2 influences in this game more than pretty much any other ARPG that has tried to act like it's Diablo 2 or even remotely Diablo 2-esque. It nails the vibe check. Nails the vibe check. This game is dark as fuck. It's grimdark as fuck. It is brutal as hell. The story is brutal as hell. They're just like, lopping people's heads off left, right, and sideways. Everything is like, mismanaged body parts flying around, torture devices everywhere. It's extremely Diablo 1 and Diablo 2-esque vibes, which was desperately needed because this game is doing the Diablo 4's job better than Diablo 4 does, which I find absolutely hilarious. Now, one other thing that's very interesting is I actually really love the combat. I think that the combat, even for melee, while not perfect by any means whatsoever, melee is definitely much harder to play than any of the range classes. I played a little bit of, Mercenary and Ranger, for example, and, I was flying through fights much faster than the warrior. That's okay, it's totally fine, but I will say at least melee feels playable, at least far more than Path of Exile 1. Melee is completely dogshit in Path of Exile 1, and everyone knows it. They actually ended up making Path of Exile 2, at least at the start, because of how dogshit Path of Exile 1's melee is, which I think is pretty funny, pretty true though. Now, one thing that I will say is that Path of Exile 1's fights are still, you know, melee unfriendly, to say the least. Like, you have to deal with, like, for example, this little, like, you know, little ice nova that I was just dealing with right here as I'm, you know, making this video for you guys. I'm playing a little bit in the background. This little ice nova thing, when you're playing a ranged character, you don't have to worry about that shit at all. You're just over here shooting. You're just over here shooting. You're just over here shooting. And this guy is over here doing you know, a melee level Frost Nova that's never going to hit you. You just don't have to worry about the mechanic at all. This is just something that's always been a problem with ARPGs, you know, melee versus ranged and MMOs in general. And this game actually gives you a little bit of an MMO vibe in a good way. I really, really like that. But something that is on the numbers and slightly in a little bit of a design way can be changed, but is already better than its predecessor. So we're already in the W column. Is it perfect? No. But is it a W? Absolutely. Who's complaining about my boy Draven? Draven was a really cool fight, but he was very melee unfriendly, Gravy Witch. Absolutely melee unfriendly. Socket Wrench to change the spark plugs? Yeah, exactly. I made a Ranger, level 23, kind of bored of the class already. Is it because it's too easy, Sir Hubs, out of curiosity, or why? I've been waiting for this part of your rundown. Hey, my pleasure, Sir Takui, my friend. Blizzard forgot how to do Diablo, so valid. Yeah, Blizzard lost their way in many, many games, and I will say this as someone who likes Diablo 4, or at least iterations of Diablo 4, for example, Season 4 and things like that, when they've, you know, really focused on copying other games. They've done a much better job with Diablo 4, unironically. But Blizzard has always been their best when they're copying off of another game and another company. Like, that's for sure. Like, this has just always been their way. It always will be their way. And there's nothing wrong with that, really, when it comes down to it. One thing that I will say that I actually really appreciate about this game is that the combat is very flowy. You want to be able to dodge. It tells you that, like, if you don't dodge fights, even like a rare like this will kill your ass. Like, it will absolutely destroy you if you do not dodge. Like, if I didn't dodge shit there, I would have died. And I think we're getting already more drops. This is fascinating. So one of the big issues that people had with Path of Exile 2 is that, you know, people were complaining about the drops in the game. And while I didn't really care too much about that, I will say that I was feeling a little bit of the squeeze of drops, but I think it was by design. I'm already full up with blues. Like, that wasn't happening 2 days ago. I've been sick, so I didn't play yesterday. But 2 days ago, that wasn't happening. So that's already an improvement. I will say that. That's fascinating. You know, at least Grinding Gear Games is listening. Another unironic W. This ship steers much faster and always has been and always will be for Path of Exile 1. Steers much faster than Diablo and Blizzard ever has or ever will. Blizzard makes changes way too freaking slow. It's absolutely crazy how slow they are with it. Beyond that, I think the other really cool thing about the combat is I have 5 skills on my bar, and I have times that I want to use every skill. It actually gives me a reason to use multiple skills. They combo with each other. They do things with each other. They have synergies. You know, sometimes a buff. Sometimes, you know, one is a better AoE. One is a better setup. Like, this is a timed setup ability. I can't spam this ability and win every fight. It doesn't do nearly enough DPS. I want to weave in auto attacks. Not auto, you know, left click attacks, right click attacks, whatever you want to call them. I want to be able to pull up my shield. I want to be able to swap weapons for certain situations, projectiles, and so on and so forth. If I see this little, you know, the little light ball there, it means I can, you know, do a bone shatter, which is a special ability the warrior has. I want to be able to do that, because if I don't, I am not maximizing my combat effectiveness as a warrior. And this is the same with every class. I think that is really, really freaking cool. I absolutely love that about this game, and this is something that I think that almost every RPG really misses the boat on, and, you know, you have to sometimes search for it, even in some of my favorite RPGs. Like, I love Last Epoch. I think it's my favorite ARPG, and I think it's one of the better ones that, you know, lets you create builds that you can use every ability with and create synergies with. However, a lot of the meta builds are still, you know, 4 buffs and 1 actual ability. That's just the way RPGs a lot of times go. However, you can make non-meta builds where you're using multiple abilities and stuff still work quite well. Sorry. My voice is definitely dying, guys. My voice is definitely dying. Regardless, beyond all of that, something that I think is a really good thing is the fact that, you know, it makes it so you want to, the loot scarcity makes it so you want to pick up items as well. You know, there's always times in ARPGs, whether it's Last Epoch, whether it's PoE 1, whether it's Diablo 4, where you just don't pick up rares, you just don't pick up blues, you just don't pick up whites for any other reason. Gold, however, is so useful, and you know, items from vendors and stuff are so good, disenchanting is so good, that you kind of want to pick everything up. A lot of people don't like that, a lot of people are not used to it, but this is a new game. If you're not used to it, play a different fucking game. And if you are just unwilling to change what you do in a game, just you know, don't play this game. You're not made for this game. Beautiful. That is okay. Go play Path of Exile 1. It still exists for that reason. I think the fact that you have to kind of buy your items for upgrades sometimes, you have to at least check the vendors, is a good thing. I think the fact that you have, you know, various different types of items that can, you know, even this mace could have been an upgrade for me. It's not, but it could have been. I think that's a good thing. I think that is unironically a good thing. I think that what else is a good aspect of this game to discuss? Monetization. One of the huge W's of this game is that everything that you bought in Path of Exile 1 will carry over to Path of Exile 2, including skins, including stash tabs, including everything. Again, none of that is necessary. You can play the entire game without even buying a single stash tab. It can make things a little more complicated, and does for me. But I'm poor, and I also don't like to spend microtransaction money, so I don't mind that so much. So huge W all around, guys. Huge W all around for that as well. And sorry about the ads, Danny Annie. Thank you for sticking it out, and the lovely fish tattoo. Absolutely. The Fury building attack speed. Ooh, Sir Hubs. You mean with Archer? Yeah, I heard that was a fun build. I have not tried it yet. Yeah. But I think that one of the downsides for this game, though, is a little bit of the map design. What button is the map? They changed all the buttons. Every ARPG does their buttons differently. I can't remember what button the map is, but I was going to show you, like, you know, an overlay of the map, and I can't because I forgot what button it is. Hold on, let me see if I can find it. Because we've at least explored a little bit of this map already. I can give you an idea of what I'm talking about. Map. Tab. That's the overlay map. Where's the big map? That's world screen. Is there a way to see, like, the big map? No, it might just be the overlay screen. Yeah, it looks like that is. Okay, regardless. Okay, so if you look at this map, some things in it are really good. For example, they made the map very breathable, as in, like, expansive in some ways, which is really cool. There's a lot of detail on the map. Did I say breathable? I meant believable. You know, a lot of areas to explore, sometimes with hidden things in those areas. I found a treasure room in a tomb just in my, what is it, I think first day of streaming the game, where I had to click a switch and it said treasure room. I go in and there's like a whole bunch of gold and items and stuff. Really cool. You know, I didn't really remember that kind of stuff in Path of Exile 1 that much. I could have been mistaken, but I didn't at least remember it that often in Path of Exile 1, and it definitely isn't really a thing in Diablo 4. So I think that's super dope. And definitely a thing I wish that they did more in Last Epoch, though it did its own exploration in a good way as well. Random nooks and crannies and corners of the map had special boxes you could pick up, and those were semi-procedurally generated. If you found one of the big yellow chests in Last Epoch in the bottom right corner of the map, for that map, it was always going to be in the bottom right corner. You could always get your way down there and find it again, even with procedural generation. So it was like a limited procedural generation. It was very interesting how they did that. I actually really liked it. Anyways, Path of Exile 2 does some things very well and some things poorly. The exploration part, really cool. One of the absolute downsides is the fact that there's an absolute boatload of dead ends that don't lead to anything. And, you know, some maps can take upwards of an hour to explore. And you're just going the wrong way, and you're in a dead end, and you're like, what the fuck? The cave maps are notorious for this. Yeah, maze gameplay, exactly. And there's a little too much of that. They can titrate this down. It's not a huge deal, but it's definitely an issue. The other issue is that, you know, the waypoint that I used to teleport to this map, there's only one of those per map. They need to add more waypoints in, especially these larger maps. Like this map is huge. They should have multiple waypoints in this map. Is it a gigantic deal? No. But is it an issue? Yeah, absolutely. One cool thing is side bosses. They added a lot of side bosses like this guy, Crowbell. I already beat him. I just kind of ran into him again. So we're just going to beat him again. But this is definitely a really big W for this game. I think I really love how the side bosses work in this game. And they all have different mechanics. They all have different bonuses they give you for killing them. Passive bonuses, you know, lore things, unique fights like this, little enclosed area, all kinds of stuff. And, you know, this guy, even though I beat him before, is almost killing me at some point. I think this is a really big W. Like, this game does a lot of these small things very, very well. And while it's not perfect, it can definitely be improved. I think at its core, it's done a very, very good job. Crush them! The sound design, by the way, for the abilities in this game is so freaking clean. You know, you know, putting this E, hearing it crack and seeing it explode and everything, it's best in class. Like, dude, no other game does it like this, including Diablo 4. Like, they've really put a lot of effort into this in sound design. And I think anyone can really see that. Like, oh, I just killed him. Never mind. Whoa, painted tower shield. That is nice. That might be an upgrade for us, boys. Hold on, let's see what this is. Yeah, this is an unironic upgrade already. Oh my god. Huge upgrade. Huge upgrade. Now, one thing I don't know, and if you guys know this, do let me know in the comments below. If I have this shield equipped and I'm not using it, as in, like, I'm using my two-hander mostly, do I still get the stats from it when I'm using the two-handed? Does anyone know that? I have no clue. You know, it explains a lot of the things, but it doesn't explain everything. That's okay. I never expect any game to explain everything. But you know, anytime that I feel the need to Alt-Tab and look on another tab or something about a detail of an item or a mechanic in the game, I consider it kind of a failing of the game. Not like a terrible failing, but it's definitely been an issue with Path of Exile before. You know, people follow meta builds on, like, you know, various websites for a freaking reason. Regardless, if you guys have that answer, definitely know in the comment below. Should be able to test that if you shield as resist by opening the character weapon swap to see if there is change. Excellent idea. Excellent idea. Okay. Well, that answers the question, guys. If I go to my two-handed weapon, it changes the stats. Does it change all the stats? It does. It changes the life and everything. Wow, there you go. Huh. Thank you, Stasis Guy. Yep, that explains it. All right. The other thing that's really good is that, you know, Path of Exile 1 basically didn't explain jack diddly shit. And it was very annoying. You kind of had to Alt-Tab and look things up all the time. And Path of Exile 1 super fans will wank off and wax poetic about how that's good game design. That has never been good game design, and Grinder Gear Games agrees with me. How do I know this? Because they changed it for Path of Exile 2. Look at this, guys. You can do Alt to inspect and look up details for every single mechanic almost in the game. There's still some missing pieces, but it tells you almost everything on any menu. If you hold tab, it'll tell you what accuracy means, what stun means. You'll have detailed stuff on your thingy over here to tell you what exactly does this evasion mean right here, and what is a strike versus projectile. All of these incredible details and definition style things, it'll tell you everything in this game. Path of Exile 1 didn't really do that. This is a huge win for accessibility. This is a huge win for making the game more approachable to every single player, whether they live on a fucking Reddit or not. And if you don't like this type of game design, guys, like I said, Path of Exile 1 exists, and also get your head out of your fucking ass, because Jesus Christ, the fact that, people would laugh about how the first boss of Path of Exile 1 was opening the menu, and they'd laugh about that, that's not a good thing. You want more people to be able to play your game, don't you? I hope so. But, Path of Exile 1 super fans, and I'm a fan, but I'm not like an idiot about it. A lot of Path of Exile 1 players don't act like that. They're some of the most unapproachable people in the entire gaming space, Path of Exile 1 fans. They're extremely hostile to new players a lot of times as well. How do I know this? Go to Path of Exile 1 and ask a question in all chat. And you'll get either a troll answer, or people calling you dog shit, or people telling you to look it up online. It's not very approachable, it's not very helpful, it's not very friendly. Be a better fucking gamer. A lot of my problems with Path of Exile, by the way, guys, is due to the community. I loved the game. It's like one of those games where I really love the game, and like a lot of times I have problems with the community. I'm not gonna lie. It's definitely been an issue for me. If I did make that obvious. But again, I'm a gamer who is a true blue gamer, and I want everyone to be able to enjoy the game that I'm enjoying. One thing that I think is a huge W for the game, by the way, like I said, I alluded to this when I said that the combat is a lot slower. Defenses matter. And not like you need to hit a certain breakpoint to not get one shot. I mean, like, in a boss fight, it was kind of an endurance race. And if I didn't dodge abilities, then I was running out of health charges. And I was running out of health in general. And I was going to have to play, like, extremely careful for the last, like, quarter of the fight. And, some of the fights I won with, like, 10 health remaining and 0 flash charges and everything remaining. And I had to, like, actually use my brain for how to avoid the fights. I think that is huge, and I hope they stick to that design. And all the people yearning for, like, an easier time and basically, Path of Exile 1, I hope that they don't listen to them. Because I think it's super cool how fights, and especially boss fight cadences, are the way they are. Now, another downside to this game. I don't like one-shot mechanics. I've never hidden this. And while I understand the need for one-shot mechanics, I think unavoidable damage and one-shot mechanics are questionable game design. And, sometimes they're okay, but sometimes they're extremely, extremely unhealthy for the game. There was one fight, I forgot what his name. It was right after Draven. The Forgotten something. I forgot what his name was. It was actually the boss that I just beat before going on here. So it was just a while ago. I can't remember the exact name. Hold on, maybe I can pull it up with the map. Is it you? Yeah, the world map screen. There it is. Ritual Altar, Crowbell, no. Yeah, Lachlan. Here it is. Lachlan of the Endless Lament. So he has a mechanic where before you can get really any frost resist, he paints the ground with frost shit. And it slows you. If you're on it too long, it freezes you. And it does a constant damage over time. It's just all around bad news. which is totally fine if, you know, you could still move around the map as a melee without running into the frost ground. But at some point, the frost ground is everywhere. Very annoying and extremely unfriendly fight for melee. Things like that, I think, are a little incorrectly tuned. Now, is that like, you know, a terrible thing with the game? Nah, every game has issues with certain bosses and so on and so forth. And I was still able to get past the fight, but it was definitely a struggle bus, and it definitely was a struggle bus for more players than just me. I think Asmongold literally quit playing the game at one point because of that fight, which, you know, is an Asmongold thing to do, but also is indicative of certain issues that, you know, could be a little unbalanced with the game. And I think it's very important to remember that. Definitely an issue I had with the game. Ooh, skill charge. Ooh. I think you get skills too slowly. I think that's this cadence thing. It's not like a huge deal, but it is definitely an issue I have. You get skills way too slowly, in my opinion. You know, I have access to 7 skills, but you don't have, at least it could be an issue because of early access. You don't have axe skills, you don't have sword, you don't have spear, so you have none of these other skills that you can mix and match with. But, you know, as a mace user, I'm kind of just relegated to these skills until I unlock tier 5, tier 7 class skills. So definitely an issue, not like a gigantic issue, but it's something that I do hope that they look into as they continue on improving and you know, I guess making the game better. You know, like I said, constructive criticism. Besides that, I think those are really my only major downsides. I think, you know, gear could be accelerated a little bit, but I think a lot of it is due to, like, people not understanding how gear works in this game compared to PoE 1. PoE 1 was, like, kind of a loot fest, and PoE 2 is definitely, like, you know, loot rarity makes more of a difference in PoE 2. You know, your ability to buy things using gold, which is a new mechanic, really, in Path of Exile 2 compared to 1, it is extremely different. Crafting means more in Path of Exile 2 than 1. It's a game design thing, but also I think it's like a little bit of a balance numbers thing as well. So that can be improved. But, you know, besides the things I've just said, I think that this game is in an incredibly good place. I'm enjoying it completely, and I am extremely enthused for how the game will grow in the future. So I just wanted to say, does it suck? No. I think the game is really good in so many different ways. I think I would rate this game straight up like a 9.5 out of 10, especially for an early access. And that's not to say it's near perfect. That's just to say it's near perfect for what I expected the game to be at in terms of early access compared to when I first played Path of Exile 1 at the same point in its lifetime. As in way before, you know, Settlers of Caligor came out, way before, you know, various leagues that come out and all that. Like way back when it was in beta, that game was fucking broken as shit. This game is in a much better state. It's so polished. I haven't crashed a single time in this game. I know some people are having crashes, you know, your mileage may vary with your hardware and everything, but I haven't crashed a single time in an early access. I would say, like I said, 9.5 out of 10 for Path of Exile. Oh, another good thing, frankly, a lot of people may disagree with me on this, and that's okay. You're welcome to disagree with me on this. But I think, and well, stated fact, they have simplified the skill tree. Is much simpler than Path of Exile 1. Path of Exile 1's skill tree was like a convoluted, weird web of a lot of things that sometimes didn't really even make sense. Or was extremely obtuse, and you were forced to always use a build guide. And if you didn't, you would break your character. Path of Exile 2 has solved that in many different ways. First of all, there isn't different starting sections of the skill web anymore. Everyone starts in this middle, but every class has a different, you know, starting, what's it called, fork. So the warrior's fork is over here. The witch's fork is over here. The monk's fork is, I think, over here. Yeah, and the dude who does mercenary's fork is over here. Ranger's fork is over here. So on and so forth. Huge W. Huge W. The skill tree is still intimidating for new players, but at least it is manageable now. And they also added a little search tab in the upper right corner. I'll move my head so you can see it right here. And so you can, like, you know, do a lot of different things to figure out your build and not break your character. It's still possible to break your character, but now that you have, like, the ability to respec easier, it's still not the easiest thing in the world. You still have to farm up gold and stuff, but at least it's possible to do. All around better. All around much, much better, and very, very happy with how they improved it. But yeah, lots of really, really good things, very, very few huge downsides, and I think the skill tree being simpler is only a good thing. Now, Path of Exile 1 super fans are going to hate me for saying that, but I'm sorry. I definitely think that having your skill tree be the first boss of the game, and, you know, most players quit as soon as they see a skill tree, is not a good thing. It's not a good thing. And if you guys really like that skill tree, play Path of Exile 1. I will stand on business. I will always tell you how it is. And that is my big ol' update and discussion for Path of Exile 1. Path of Exile 2. What did you guys think? Let me know in the comments below. I would love to hear your discussion, what you guys think. Oh, I completely forgot. 2 more aspects of this game that I did not cover yet. First of all, the characters have a lot more lore, and the story is just straight up better than Path of Exile 1. The story is just actually really cool. I want to look at and talk to every single character and go to every single discussion point and hear their lore. The voice acting is fantastic. The story is really, really dope. Huge W's, all around W's in the chat, boys. Absolutely loving those changes. Absolutely loving those changes. The other thing that I really, really like is the campaign itself is really cool. I think the story of the campaign is actually quite fantastic, quite dope, and has a lot of really, really good nuances. Has a lot of good, you know, characters in it. Both the heroes and the villains, and, you know, the animations, while rare, are very, very high quality. All huge W's. All huge W's. So yeah, I completely forgot to discuss those 2 things, but those were all big W's in my book, and I completely forgot to even mention those. But yeah, I think Grinding Gear Games has a banger on their hands. They're already, their cadence of updates here. Let me show you their Twitter. I'll open up a new tab, and I'll go to, I won't open up Twitter until I go to Grinding Gear Games' Twitter. Because Twitter is the Wild West these days, and you never know when you're going to just see, you know, tits or ass. So let's go to Path of Exile's Twitter. There we go. Their cadence of updates is a lot. They have 0.1.0D. That means they've had 4 major patches already. Not major, but, like, you know, 4 real patches already. Hot fixes, non-hot fixes, you know, patches in general, and stability improvements, changes to characters, changes to broken-ass skills and stuff. All really good things. They're moving at a very, very fast pace, and I have no doubt they will continue this pace. But I will say that if they continue to stick on this pace and continue to make the changes that I believe them to be able to do, and that they've shown a willingness and an ability to do already, I expect a very bright future for Path of Exile 2. And that is a good thing not only for all Path of Exile fans, whether you're a fan of 1 or 2, but also this is a major W for gaming as a whole and ARPG gaming as well. I know a lot of Diablo 4 super fans will be very pissed off to hear me say this, but competition is good. Having multiple good ARPGs on the market at the same time is only a good thing. And I'm very happy with how Path of Exile 2 is, and I hope Path of Exile's 2 success will only make games like Diablo 4 better as well. While I'm a huge fan of Path of Exile 2, and I'll be playing it for many, many hours to come, I will be covering other ARPGs as well. I have covered a lot of Diablo 4. I have covered a lot of Last Epoch, and I'll continue to do so, as well as every other genre of games. So if you like this type of discussion, fully in depth, my real thoughts, completely unabridged, completely raw and unfiltered, give this video a like, give it a sub, leave a comment below what you like, what you dislike, what you agreed with, what you disagreed with, your favorite parts of this game and least favorite parts. And I'll respond to every single comment. I always do. And I always make new videos all the time of every single genre. And so make sure you catch the next video. It'll be a lot of fun. Thank you so much for hanging on out in the Corey crew.